Let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're capable of more, but something keeps on holding you back? That's where Phil comes in. Phil is a professional master coach and a master practitioner in NLP, timeline therapy and hypnotherapy with years of real-world experience building and growing businesses. His passion is simple: helping you reimagine your life or your business, break through limitations and build unstoppable momentum for good. Whether you want a powerful one-off session or ongoing support where Phil walks you through every step of the way, everything is tailored to you and your goals. If you're ready for real, lasting change, Phil might be exactly who you've been looking for. To find out more of what Phil does, just visit philhanlon.com for more information. George & Co. create crafted spaces that stand the test of time. Royal Society of Architects Wales award winners and Wales Home of the Year regional winners. Featured on TV and in leading magazines, they are based in Merthyr and Swansea, designing exceptional homes across Wales. They proudly sponsor today's episode.
Right, we're back in Haystack.
No funny intro today?
No funny intro.
Oh,
all serious.
serious today.
I gotta be serious.
Wow.
That's how we do things these days. We serious.
There we are.
Yeah, we're back in the Haystack in Merthyr. So just a big shout out first off to a good friend of ours, Mr. Liam Lazarus, for letting us use the space.
Yeah, thank you very much.
With him again. Just a cheap plug as well. Liam's done a couple of episodes with us. If you fancy going back and watching them or listening to them, check them out, because there's some wild stuff. But today we've got an individual who I'm really, really excited actually to talk about, and I think we're really privileged to have him on. Mr. Jon Walters.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming on, bud.
I suppose...
Where to start?
Innit? Where to start that won't get us sued. I think you'll be known in different circles for different reasons.
Yeah.
You starred on a reality TV show.
Yes, I did.
You have kind of entered the foray of American football.
Yep.
You're a mental health advocate.
Yep.
And probably by the time this goes out, you will have either won, drawn or lost in an MMA match.
I would have lost, or drawn or lost.
Don't start or lost. You start with one, kicked his ass. And then the thing is, look, we laid it then, depending on how you...
Yeah. Oh, I won. Oh, no, I lost. Just edit that in.
Look sad. No, it's fine. But, yeah, so... But I think you've had such a journey... from kind of appearing on reality TV to where you are now. You were on a TV show that the concept of which is a bit crazy anyway.
Yeah, a little bit crazy.
It involved marriage.
Yep.
And you were a married man.
Yeah, it was.
You're not anymore.
Nope.
But you kind of, I suppose, felt the adverse effects of quote unquote fame, and the sting, I suppose, of social media, and that's something I'd like to get into, I suppose, straight off the bat. So what were your experiences like as someone that's been on TV, and not just on a show that's shown on S4C for our Welsh viewers, but that's been syndicated around the world. It's an American TV show. I believe it is American by production and that, isn't it?
It is made, yeah.
But how does it feel to kind of be on a show and have really intimate parts of your life kind of dissected and put in front of a camera, I suppose, first off the bat?
Well, it was an accident. It didn't plan it. I never applied to it. I didn't choose to be a reality TV star or anything like that. I met someone online and I liked her, and we were getting on great. And she said, "Oh, I'm in America, you're in England. It's like my favorite TV show."
Mm-hmm.
And she spoke about the show. I'll say its name is 90 Day Fiancé.
Okay.
And the premise of the show is for people to get into America, you can get somebody in that wouldn't normally be allowed a visa. So if they're from a poor country, they could get engaged and then they would be allowed in for 90 days. And if they get married, then they can change their status. When they're in, then they can go through the whole application of applying for a visa. So it's basically an invitation visa. It's a 90-day invitational visa. But she was in America, I was in England, and that was her favorite show. And then one day she was like, "Hey, do you want to be on this show?" They reached out, and I wanted to meet her anyway. We were already planning to meet up, and there was a spin-off show called Before the 90 Days. For it to be a real fiancé visa for the K1, for the 90-day visa to get into America, the American has to meet the person first.
Mm-hmm.
So they started a spin-off called Before the 90 Days. And this was going to be their second season or something. And that was it. Like, we told them our story. They sent some contracts through. And they wanted to film the first time we met, the first time we went for dinner, the first night together, our first everything. And I suppose we both romanticized, like, our first meeting, our first kiss, our first everything's going to be saved forever. And we had time to plan it. So most people plan a first date or whatever. I had time to plan the first trip. I was like, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, it's going to be amazing. And filming was crazy. I've never been filmed before. First day of filming, I felt sick. I was obviously worried. Never been filmed before. Bike on me. And a friend said to me, "Aren't you worried, like, when the camera's finished in the end of the day, that you could, like, relax and be yourself?" And it wasn't really like that. It didn't feel, because I'm not an actor. It didn't feel like that at all. So for me, having a camera stuck in your face and a producer asking you questions was almost liberating. It was quite authentic in a way like that. I didn't have to think about stuff. And they filmed our first meeting, our first kiss, our engagement. They filmed our wedding. They filmed our first Christmas together. We did lots of follow-ups. And that was how they filmed it. That was what went out into public. And like you said, it was syndicated to different countries. So we were dubbed in different languages. People would tag me in social media and I'd be speaking in, like, Spanish. And they'd just film a little bit of the TV. So it was crazy. For like a year, every different countries would air it at different times. People would just start watching it. It was, for a couple of years, it was a crazy, crazy world. My life was crazy with the online presence and stuff. So yeah, that was me in the spotlight. Boom, everything laid bare. My relationship, my family. So yeah, that was pretty crazy.
And how does one kind of transition, I suppose, from not being a public figure, then, as it were, to all of a sudden being kind of under the microscope? And we're all adults. We all understand that there's social media, some amazing uses, some amazing causes, some amazing people behind it. But then there's as many bad and sinister parts of social media as ever. But how does that, and there is a link, isn't there, between celebrity, for lack of a better phrase, and notoriety and being a public figure. And the stuff you get after it.
I actually, in my ignorance, thought they were going to film the show. It was going to be on TV. Everyone was going to watch the TV show, then go to bed, and then that was going to be it. Okay. I had no idea people were going to be tweeting during the episode when it was on. I had no idea that when an episode was on my phone, I was going to get 10,000 notifications. And it was bing, bing. I haven't had my notifications on my phone for 10 years now.
Wow. Okay.
It was mad, and I had no idea that it was going to be like that. But what surprised me the most was the infrastructure around a show like 90 Day Fiancé that was organic, made by fans. There was the bloggers, the meme pages, the trolls. There was the Reddits and the subreddits. There was podcasters. There were YouTube makers. There were people that would live stream and do reaction videos to the episodes. That whole infrastructure, I had no idea about until I was in the thick of it, having memes made about me, having fake news made about me, people trolling me. That was not expected. So one minute I'm Jon, next minute I thought I'd get some more followers, but all the other stuff, the fan pages, the hate pages, that infrastructure blew my mind. But some of it is amazing. Some people do like updates and they go, hey, there's a couple, blah blah blah. They do an update and people who are interested, they love it. Some people follow those pages to keep up with the news because they don't have to follow 25 people. And the main core of the fans are people that relate to people. They like this person because they're a little bit overweight. They like this person because she reminds them of their nephew. They like me because, I had a stepdad. You know, people relate to the people they like, and then they get into a team, or they kind of almost feel like they're Team Jon or they're, you know, Team Joey or whoever.
And that's the thing you could have wanted to do then, really, is like you've gone on this reality TV show expecting to be, I don't know, put in a good spotlight constantly, and it kind of gives you a buzz then, going, I'm on TV, but you don't really realise, like you said, the other thing of the other side of it then, where you've got the memes and stuff, because you don't really notice when you've been watching, like, I don't know, I'm a Celebrity, for instance, you don't really go on TikTok or Twitter and see the updates are coming in live as the episode goes, and then to people put in that position from yourself, I bet that was a massive shock. Yeah,
massive shock. I mean, for me, luckily, it's an American company, it's an American show, but the spin-off was before the 90 Days, so they filmed it here. So, and most of the couples have like, it's a fish out of water. So they'll have the American go into South Korea to meet the South Korean.
Okay.
Or they'll have like somebody go into, Tunisia. That would be basically the premise. So it would be the American going to Tunisia, seeing the person. But my wife, my future wife, my fiance, my girlfriend at the time, she came to England, and we speak the same language, we're the same age. So there wasn't that big culture shock. So it was really nice. It felt like it was genuine, it was real. We met, we did our stuff. They filmed it, put it out in the world. We thought, no one's going to dislike us. Like, we're not anything. And seeing the memes and the cruelty of people, you know, would say, she's wearing the same jeans, or why is her hair the same? Or people would say, look at his beard, right? And then they make like memes of trolls and tagging me. And then they'd like use like Photoshop, because it was Photoshop, not AI back then. And they'd take me and they'd put my face, they'd be like, it's a garden gnome. And I was like, and I just put, there's no place like no gnome. And
so
I don't
kind
know.
of almost rise to it, think, you know, well, I'm engaging, you know, and obviously, you know, you're kind of taught onto to a certain degree, you know, the more you engage with people, the more, you know, the more following, and the more they'll see you as a human being. But then there comes a point where, you know, the engagements.
I have noticed something really specific. There's a nice couple that haven't done anything bad or anything. They will get hounded and torn to pieces. And the really toxic narcissists who love it, they make up fake stuff. They put out fake stuff. In their heads, they feel like they're the celebrity. They feel like they're a WWF superstar. They feel like a heel. They don't mind being booed by the crowd, right? So they go out there, they say awful things, they do stuff, everyone hates them, and you know they're cutting out the clippings. They love it. They love the fact that there's bad press on them.
Yeah,
because they're trying to stay in that spotlight, because any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like a you don't want you play up to the bullies. Then the people who are commenting on, they'll play up to them, so they are not they're not having the reaction of what they want.
Yeah, so the good people will bite.
You know. And this is kind of like a wind up. Then is like a normal, like a school bully would do. Is right. They're biting now.
Yeah, like the first, as a youngster, the first kind of reality TV star that I ever kind of knew were off the first series of Big Brother.
Like Craig.
And you had Craig, who was the nice guy, the builder, and everyone loved Craig. And then you had Nasty Nick.
Nasty Nick, yeah.
But he was Nasty Nick. He wasn't just Nick, he was Nasty Nick. And,
Yeah.
and he became this character. But
And all he did was try to win a game.
But he fully lent into it. And he became Nasty Nick. And
He's doing pantomimes.
And that's what I mean. And he, and it served him, as you said, to be that person.
Yeah.
Because the longer he was that person, the longer he was in the spotlight. I suppose really there's two elements. So for starters, I think how long was it before you started to kind of realize, hang on a minute, this isn't just one or two kind of bad trolls. This isn't just one or two messages. This is becoming frequent. And I suppose the second element then is, did you have any opportunity to speak to other couples who were in that same process to see how they were dealing with things?
Yeah, the couples that had been on the show before us that were more established because they had been on previous seasons, there was two types. There was a type that were rolling around in good or bad publicity. It didn't matter. Anyone said they never deleted any comments. They never cared. And there was the other people who were like, John, whatever you do, don't go on Reddit. Don't Google. Don't do anything. Right? And just delete and block. And so there's those two different people. And me and my wife, we became the bloggers. If somebody says something really awful, she'd send me the link and say, block this. And I wouldn't even read what they said. Yeah. So I would send them the links as well. Yeah. So we kept our social media pretty clean. We stayed away from the drama. The fan pages or the troll pages, we would block them. And then they would talk about us and other couples on their pages. And as I was like, if they stay and do it on their pages, that's fine. I never went looking for it. But yeah, that was the only advice we got. And they were just like, look, you're in the meat grinder. It'll be really bad for a while, but you make some money. And money does come when you're on a show. I was the first person from 90 Day Fiancé to sign up to Cameo. Okay. Cameo just started. Cameo just started. And so I applied. I was like, can I join? And they were like, yeah. And they gave me a referral link. I referred everyone, even people I hated. I was like, hey, you should do this Cameo. And I was getting like 15% of all their cameos.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I made a lot of money from them doing cameos. But the news, when they first found out we were doing it, somebody said, John and Rachel spinning tricks or whatever to get more money from fans. And it was a really bad news article written about us because we were like the first people doing it. And then later on, there was like, oh, these are the 90 Day Fiancé people doing cameos. And now it seems absurd that they would even laugh or they would even a story. But they thought we were robbed. They thought we were like scamming people. I was actually working in a factory cleaning engines. On my lunch break, I would do 15 cameos where I'm singing happy birthday to 15 people, £30 each. I made more money in my lunch break than I did for the rest of the shift. So yeah, Cameo was really good. Really good.
But it's mad, isn't it? Because people, and I always say this, and like a lot of those ones who were straight on the phone, bam, 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 he's this, he's that, they got a very short memory. Because you give it 6 months, they've forgotten that they've said it. Yeah. But you don't forget they've said it.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that is directed at.
Yeah.
How did, you kind of said that you were able to kind of limit it to a degree, blocking, kind of shielding. How did kind of family and friends react? Because, again, because that's its own thing, isn't it? Where you've gone from just being an average family and friend to kind of, they were on the TV. And, they did this kind of mad experiment type thing.
It is a mad experiment.
And now all of a sudden, they're a name. Because I found it interesting when you said, you kind of, you go when you Google, you stop being John.
Yeah.
And you're John from.
Yeah.
Because if you put your name in, the auto population
gives you
is Jon Walters from bam bam bam.
Yeah.
And that in itself is an identifier then, because it labels you where you kind of have that then,
Yeah,
and no
yeah.
matter what you do, that's you, which obviously isn't true, because you're more than that. You know,
Yeah.
you're so much more than that as a person. But for that culture and those subcultures, as you said, then
Yeah,
you become defined by a TV show.
Yeah.
How did family and friends take that?
I think it's novel, isn't it? There's a novelty to it. It's like, oh yeah, my uncle did this,
Yeah.
right? And that's cool. My nephew he loves Reddit. He was like, oh, John, you want to see this stuff that's said about it? I was like, I don't. And he's like, look, they made a meme. Look, it's hilarious. You look like a gnome. No, I don't want to see that. Right? So I think there is a novel aspect to it. But on the search, John, sometimes it's got suggestions for other searches.
Yeah.
How tall is John? How much
Yeah.
money does John have?
Yeah.
Like, where does John live?
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. John without beard. I'm like, come on, why are you searching that?
Yeah.
It is mad. Like, my mum's like, you're not famous. And sometimes I joke, we'll have dinner or something, and I'm like, oh, we'd be talking about whatever, and she'd be like, oh, get it yourself. I'm like, Mum, I'm fucking famous. Like, you don't understand. I am a fucking... And she's like, you're not famous, right? And we've had that ongoing joke for a long time now. And when I'm out with her and someone spots me, she's like, she's pissed off. Like, I was out buying some shoes with my mum, like you do, and someone came up and they were like, oh, hey, John. I was like, fuck. And he said, my mum's a big fan of the show. Can I have a photograph? And I was like, I'm buying shoes. I had one shoe on and a dirty sock. I was like, fuck. And then my mum was like, so she wanders off. And so he took a photograph, and I was embarrassed. Like, my mum she was like, just because he wanted a photograph doesn't mean famous. I'm like, Mum, it does mean I'm famous. So there's that sort of like banter we have about it. But it's weird. It is weird because I'm famous in Western. Not because I'm famous in Western, but because Western was on TV.
Yeah,
So anyone who watches 90 Day Fiancé or knows someone from Western will get in texts, oh, your hometown's on the TV, right?
Right, okay.
So everyone in Western watched the show, not for me, because they didn't care and they don't know me.
It's Western on.
They wanted to see if they could see, they were like, oh, I know the pier. Or they would be like, oh, I know, that's my road.
Yeah.
So whilst the show was on, or even a little while afterwards, the show for people in Western, it was good. It was like, oh, Western's on the TV show.
Yeah.
I found it really hard then. I was in a queue in Costa and somebody was like, are you John? And I was like, maybe. And they were like, yeah, because you're on the show. And then I was like, yeah. And the guy behind me was like, are you famous? And the woman serving, I'm just like, can we just fucking get coffees? Right? And then...
Just hear the slam of the door
Yeah.
you never left. No,
Yeah.
it's not. But you know... that, you know, and that's happened even you know, and for all the wrong reasons, because Murphy unfortunately been on I suppose you call them hit pieces. There've been some fantastic shows. Ruth Jones and Steve Spears did a really nice piece on Murphy as a kind of rebuttal.
Yeah, Stephen Powell.
But
you
know, there was a great program about the 200 years of Carmarthen Castle. Yeah. But then there's been as many hit pieces, like they'll show a photo of the Gurnis estate.
Okay.
And you know, there'll be social deprivation, or there'll be drug users, or there'll be this or that.
Oh, like Benefit Street or Skint type of thing. Okay.
And then all of a sudden they'll show that, and then the caption won't be Gurnis estate Murphy, it'll just be Murphy.
Yeah, but what's the point in that? Because you can find a homeless person and stick a camera in their face and be like, hey, you're homeless, or a poor person, or a drug addict. What's the point?
Exactly. But then
my great grandfather's dad was born in Merthyr.
Yeah.
And my great grandfather was born here.
Wow.
Good stock, see.
I know.
Good stock. You're saying about that, Paul, and like you're happy, you know, like we've had individuals who, if they see that someone who's on reality TV or someone that's got a social following, they're in a cafe or they're in a particular, and they tag where they are, all of a sudden you start seeing people go into that place, you know.
Oh, really?
And you think, well, are you going because you generally want to try the cafe or the restaurant, or are you going because deep down you think, oh my God, maybe if I go I'll see this person?
Yeah.
Because I think there is that kind of, there's that level then, isn't there, as well, where you've got people who do feel as though they know you.
It's weird though. It gets really weird. I was in train stations and airports, because there's a lot more people from a lot more places.
Yeah.
They're the places that I dislike. Not because I'm super famous now, but if you've watched the show and you are following, then you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not famous to people who don't know.
Yeah.
And I was in an airport, and I was using my sat nav. I was using a map to try and find where I was going. And somebody else was like that. I said, "Oh, I'm doing the same." They went, "Oh, I was just trying to take a photograph of you." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It was so gross. I was just like using my phone as like a map thing.
Yeah.
And I've been on a bus where somebody's like trying to take a photo, and that's weird.
It is, yeah.
Like, I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's not even news.
Well, no, but they're not only that, but it's, as you said, then even that individual, when you were buying a pair of shoes, right?
Yeah.
They come up to you, "Can I have a photo?"
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's. So you smile over the photo.
Yeah.
But there's an element of trust, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea what he's going to do with that photo.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey,
you
I've
could
just
go
seen
straight
John
down
buying
like-
some shoes. What a wanker.
You know what? Yeah, and that's what I mean. And,
Yeah.
and like, there's no, and there's no need for that kind of approach. But that's the kind of the world we live. So I suppose, you weathered the storm.
I did, and it was all right.
And it was okay, but then it wasn't okay.
Then it wasn't okay. Basically, we had our fans. We deleted block trolls, bloggers. They'd moved on to other people. There was more current stuff, new seasons. Did some updates. Fine. Me and my wife, we broke up. It wasn't a nasty breakup. It wasn't a nasty breakup by any means. It was amicable. It was nice, as much as nice would be. I was broken. I got really sad. And my ex, she made a breakup video explaining it to the fans. I watched it probably 1,000 times, like, still trying to understand where it went wrong. And I had a lot of time to self-reflect. I thought, I should have done this, I should have done that, I could have been better. Maybe I've missed this. Just like many people in breakups, when it's because I got broken up with a text message. It was a beep beep. It was a text breakup, and so that's what happened. It was gentle. There was no aggro. There was no nothing. And for months, it was amicable. It was fine. She was doing her thing. I was doing my thing. At a certain point, and I don't really know when. I don't really know why. At a certain point, that whole infrastructure we were talking about earlier with the meme pages and the trolls and the Reddit stuff, that was weaponized in I think, quite a cruel way, because everybody knew I hated the trolls, I hated the newspapers, I hated the fake news stuff, and I got to a good place where they'd moved on. We were old news. We should have just broken up and evaporated. Like, that should have been how it went. One morning I woke up to 700 messages, about 350. I'd say 300 messages were calling me a piece of shit. Awful messages. 300 of them were women sliding in my DMs. "Hey, John, how's it going? Oh, great on the weight loss. You look great." Just trying to chit chat with me. And there was about 50 awful messages telling me I should probably kill myself. Absolutely awful things. And I thought, what's going on? And I found that there was some posts made about me. There was some fake news stuff. There was some real stuff mixed in with all the bad stuff. And I was just so overwhelmed and so surprised that this had gone like this. And then all the gears, the bloggers were picking up on it, people were resharing it, people were sending it back to me. My mum got sent loads of stuff. And this, I would say, it was like a hive mind mentality. My ex, she didn't message me. She didn't say anything to me. There were a lot of people who were posting stuff. Now, I'm not sure if people were making fake stuff up and giving it to my ex and being like, "Oh, look what John's done." I don't know if she was involved with some of that. I don't know if there was a group chat and there was people like, "Yeah, let's get him. I don't know how that happened.
No.
All I know is from the other side, it was like an avalanche of stuff. And I was already sad and depressed because I'd lost my family. So to have all this stuff come out, and it wasn't even, I've done stuff in my life. I've got a criminal record. I've been in fights. I've messed up lots of times. And I've always had a reason, or I've had a justification, or I had something to apologize for. This time, I did nothing.
Yeah.
And seeing all this stuff, and week by week, it got worse. So first of all, it was like, John's a piece of shit. He cheated on me. And then it was like, John's done this. Then it was John's done that. Then screenshots were coming out of places. People were like, John's done this. John's done that. And the cruelty of it all, like some of the stuff in it towards the end were like really specific cuts for me. So I know where they've come from, and I know where they're directed. And this is all from people I cared about. This is all from people I've trusted. I don't know the reason for it. I don't know. I've got a few ideas of why. I probably should have said this earlier. I met Rachel when she was pregnant, and I can't have kids. So it seemed like a great way that we could build a family that we were never supposed to have. So for the entire time we were together, and even after we broke up, I was still Lucy's dad, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So I've been her dad since before she was born. We made each other whole. And then that got cut off at the same time that all this other stuff was posted about me. And if it was John's a bad person, he did this, I would say, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that, or I've done this, right? But just the sheer weight of all of it, I would have to go through 10 rap songs line by line and say, well, that's not true, but this is true. Yeah. And it's just all squished together. And I was already blaming myself. So that was when I basically had a mental breakdown. I thought about killing myself. I was just over it. There was nowhere I could go. Like, I was humiliated. Even my friends at work, they would be like, "Oh, John, what's going to be this week?" And they would just play some music, and I'll have to listen to what's been said about me that week. And I stopped sleeping. I was down to about 18 or 20 hours a week sleep. My anxiety was through the roof. I didn't want to meet people, didn't want to see people. It was awful. It was awful. So I deleted my social media, and I changed my shifts. So I was just working nights. And I started training because I just thought, I had put on some weight. And I just started training, and with the anxiety, with the insomnia, I developed an eating disorder. I was punishing myself. I hated myself. I loathed my body. I didn't want the world to see me. And the sad thing is, I didn't want to wake up, but I couldn't go to sleep, which was the worst thing in the world. Because I'd go to sleep and wake up 1 hour later. I was like, suppose I'm still here. And it was absolutely awful. So that was from like last August.
And do you know of any sort of comparable amount of hate that either another individual who was either on the same show or in that same like reality sphere, is there any comparable thing to that? And even with your wife, was there a potential that not maybe to the same extent, but do you think that there was probably messages that were sent her way of a similar ilk as well, or do you think that it was probably geared solely toward you?
When we were together, my wife had a lot of hate. Okay. People were mean to her, and if they said something mean to her, like, Rachel's wearing jeans again, right? I'd fire some fucks into them, right? They'd go straight over to Reddit. Oh my God, John said some mean things to me, right? Yeah. Then people were saying, And then out of the two of us, I was taking all the heat, right? I had no problem, like
because you biked in.
Yeah.
But you're doing what you think is right.
I was defending my wife, right? So for years, I did not make any friends I did not make any friends through the troll industry, right? And I just feel that because I cuss at people, and because I'm, you know, because I'm combative, right? And because I got a criminal record from when I punched that guy fucking 20 years ago or whatever. This narrative the narrative the show wanted to share, and what even my wife, and even with my visa application, we wanted to say, yeah, I did do that, but I'm not that person anymore, right? When all this stuff came out, and it was like, Jon's a piece of shit, Jon's done this, Jon's done that, everyone was like, see, I knew it. And I was like, and it just fed into that. And the people that know me the most, and the people that know none of this is true, they're the people that were fueling it the most to ruin me, to stop me from ever getting a new girlfriend, to stop me from being on social media, to drive me. Well, they almost drove me to suicide, but I think their intention was to drive me off social media. It was cancel culture. They were trying to cancel me.
Yeah, because you've got to know, haven't you, that had anything happened, had there been self-harm, had there been a suicide, I'll be fair, right? You've got some people who will, they will 100%, they will lean into it, they'll overly commit when they realised when they write, I've said something wrong, but I can't be seen as weak, I can't go back, and they'll lean into it. But then there's the other camp who would have scrolled back and desperately tried to delete any sense that they'd ever been horrible.
But the thing is, though, that individual who put something on wouldn't have thought of they are one of 700 people.
They think they're just one person.
Yeah.
And I often think that. I think you're not the first troll. You're not the first person.
No.
To tell me that I should shave my beard.
Yeah.
But they think they are. They think I just had this idea. I tell him he's disgusting. He looks like a gnome and he needs to shave his beard.
But then likewise, whilst they're not the first, there's always the one that breaks the camel's back. There's always the one that is the tipping point.
Yeah.
And because I 100% agree in that how it should have gone down really was the relationship ended. Yeah. You went to separate ways. Yeah. And it was a very private thing anyway. Yeah. I know the argument could be made, a first kiss is private, a first meeting, a first this, a marriage, but at the same time, the dissolution of a relationship is a private thing, and it's a grieving process in its own way. It is. So at that point, does it need to be fueled by, I'm gonna do this or do that? And I think that there's an odd how can I put it? There's like an odd accountability that I think people feel the need, because you feel like you have to provide answers to a public. Yeah. Even though you don't, you feel like, I have to provide them, with answers.
Well, luckily for me, when I got broken up with, I didn't dispute any of it. She said, I've been unhappy for a long time. I've been feeling this way. It's my decision. I don't think it's good for us anymore. That broke me. I was devastated that she was even unhappy for a while. Yeah. Right? So I accepted that. There was no argument. There was no trying to keep it together. There was no none of that. So I thought I would just go my way. She would go her way. And I thought it would be really hard. That was another reason why I started training. This is going to sound so egotistical. There was another couple that broke up, and she got a new boyfriend, and the new boyfriend was more handsome and better, and all the media would be like, I'm not gonna say her name, but they would say so and so and so and so have broken up, her new boyfriend, and they would put the three of them together in the same picture, him looking awful, and then the new boyfriend looking better. And in my head, I thought, I'm gonna end up seeing somebody take my daughter to the zoo. I'm gonna end up seeing my wife with somebody else that's going to be better than me. That's going to... And that was why I started training. Not because not because I didn't want her to move on. It wasn't because of that. It was just that I didn't want everyone to be like, because no one had said, no, this was all in my head. This was like the start of my anxiety.
Yeah.
This was my fear that I already thought I wasn't good enough. I thought I fucked up somewhere and I don't know where. So for a long time in my head, I was like, I just move on. I'll just be the best I can be. I just get fitter. I'll start speaking to some women, start dating. And that was all that was in my head. I'd know I'd lost my family. I was going to move on. And then this blew up. And just my sense of worth, my self-esteem just crashed to like literally nothing.
Well, yeah, but you kind of alluded to it somewhat, haven't you? Because say now it's an average quote-unquote relationship. And there's a child involved, as you said, and then you have to kind of go through that process of, they've moved on. There's someone else with someone I cared about. I've got to deal with it. That's hard enough to do as a normal individual if you just see it, if you swipe up on Facebook. Or if someone says, I bumped into such and such the other day.
Yeah, you've got a new guy.
It's another thing to have it rammed down your throat and sent to you by a public who don't really know the ins and outs, who weren't behind closed doors, but who feel that they have a right to do so because they've got a smartphone in their hands and they've got internet access.
Yeah.
That's shit, to be honest.
But it's like you see sort of social media people saying, never look at your comments, never look at the comments of a video you put. But then you kind of want to look at them because you want that reassurance that people actually want to ask you questions or they actually are a fan of you. Yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like a validation exercise, isn't it? But then it becomes self-destructive because then you end up going through
But then some people then find, like you said, they find it really difficult to take that in because you see it as an insult towards you. You don't see it as a, here we go. This bloke, this woman is trying to get a bit out of me. Yeah. She wants me to bite, and then you kind of end up either wanting to bite, and then you go over yourself, go, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. Or then it's like you see on TikTok now, people make a video of a comment. It's like you do an original video, somebody comments on it, and then they post that comment, and then they respond to that comment via video. And then that's more engagement for them. Yeah. But you didn't see it as more engagement. You just wanted to say, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Or I'm trying to do what I want to do. I've come onto this reality TV show for a reason. I don't want to be memes and bloody God knows what sort of thing.
That was I didn't know that I would ever have a mental health problem. I didn't know men got eating disorders. No. I didn't know, and it's not that their opinion matters, right? That's not it, right? Someone's opinion of me, it doesn't matter. They don't, like, I do what I want, right? That's fine. When you got hundreds of people that think you're a liar, or a scammer, or a cheat, or abuser, and that's not true, and there's nothing you can do. You could deny it, and like I watched an interview about me last year, and they were saying he's a liar, he's a total liar. You watch, he's a narcissist. He'll flip this back on me, like he's a liar. And then the interview person said, but he's not said anything publicly. What's he lying about? He might admit it. And she was like, nah. She said, you just waited, deny it. Like, and I think, so now what do I do? How do I defend myself? So I didn't. I never responded to any allegations. I never responded to anything. I didn't attack back. And I think people that have had breakups that then got bad, there's that feeling where they say, oh, you did this, and then your natural response is like, yeah, but you did that. But I never had any of that. I never had a problem with her or our marriage. I never, and I could dig out some stuff and be like, everybody listen to this, but I would never.
No.
Right? I'm not cruel. Like, I'm not spiteful. And having stuff, like, here's an example. Lucy, 7 years old, she says to me, Daddy. And then I said,
Wow.
I think that's the dishwasher.
The dishwasher's like that.
Well, his does. Liam's does.
That has never happened in all these years.
Oh,
that was good.
I don't even, like, in the worst way, I don't even know if I want to cut that.
I don't think you should cut it. That's good. That's
So as
good.
you were saying, John,
So as I was saying,
before the dishwasher,
so Lucy says to me, she texts me on Snapchat, and she says, Daddy, can I have some Roblox? Because if I have premium, then it means I got Roblox. And I had done it before, but something had happened. So I forwarded it to Rachel, right? No, it just said Daddy, and the next message said, can I have some Roblox? I forwarded it to Rachel on Snapchat. So now I'm asking Rachel, because it didn't say from Lucy. It didn't forward what Lucy had said. So it looked like I was asking Rachel if I can have some Roblox. So I took a screenshot of that, of what Lucy said. And then I unsent the messages I sent to Rachel. I sent it to Rachel and said, Rachel, can we do this? And she went, yeah, if you want, that's a good idea. I sent her my bank details. This was 6 months after we broke up. And then in an interview she'd done, somebody said, why have you stopped contact? Why is Lucy and John not, why is there no contact? And she said, oh, you don't know what he's like. She said he tries to manipulate a young girl. Lucy's 7 years old. He was taking screenshots of a conversation. She said, I've got evidence. She said, my daughter came to me and told me that John was taking screenshots of the conversation. And I went through my messages to Rachel. I went through the messages, and Rachel said, why'd you take a screenshot of Lucy's thing? I said, oh, here it is. So I sent it to Rachel, the screenshot. There was no, and then I gave her my bank details, then she paid for the Roblox. There was maybe a bit of a mix up. Maybe she was like, well, why is he doing that? But I explained it. This is why. A year later, she's on a podcast telling people how I manipulated her. I'm taking screenshots of a private conversation with a little girl. It's not even like making a mountain out of a molehill. It's taken, I don't know what it would be taken, but just a mischaracterization. So that, for an example, is just one of every example that maybe there was something, and the reality is what the reality was, and the way it's been put in the public as a smear is absolutely awful. Because now people don't give a fuck whether I bought Lucy Roblox. They don't care. They care about is in their head. They're like, oh yeah, he was manipulating Lucy. That's why he's not allowed to be Lucy's dad anymore. And that's basically the answer she gave. And I bought Lucy a phone, and it didn't work, so I bought her another phone in America. And I thought it'd be great so we could communicate, because she was only using the iPad, and the iPad microphone didn't work. Great. She loses the phone. I said to Lucy, have you found your phone yet? She says, no, I haven't. I said, can you ask your mummy to help you find it? And she went, oh, she won't help me. I said, yes, she will. You just need to ask her. Rachel said on a podcast that, and then they found the phone. It was lost in the bed or whatever. On a podcast a year later, Rachel's telling people that I'm guilt tripping a 7-year-old for losing a phone. I was like, I just thought like the adults could help a 7-year-old find a phone that I bought her so we could speak.
But it becomes, doesn't it, about the perception versus reality.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with social media and the court of public opinion is that if enough, it's almost like manifestation, isn't it? Because if enough people say it, it must be true. Even when it isn't. Because you have the court of public opinion, and if there's enough people kind of rallying behind that said, do you know what, I think this person is an absolute bastard, suddenly it kind of comes into reality, and that's people's reality when it isn't accurate.
Yeah, I feel comfortable saying those things, right? Because that's actually true. She did say that on a podcast, and I did take screenshots, and I sent the screenshots to Rachel. So I'm not going to get in trouble. There's no defamation here, right? These are actual things that have happened. And that mischaracterization, my impulse should have been to go straight onto social media and go, no, she's lying. This is what really happened, right? But if she feels like I was guilt tripping her, then that's her reality.
Yeah.
And this is what I feel. This is what I feel terrible. The fact that she thinks after all these years, I was trying to guilt trip. If that's true, right?
Yeah.
Or whether she was, but that's horrifying. I was like, hey, Lucy, have you found your phone yet? And she was like, no. I said, well, do you want to, maybe your mum can help you find it. Right? And Lucy was like, no, she won't. I was like, I'm sure she will. And the fact that even for a minute, if it's true that my ex-wife would think that I was guilt tripping her, I wanted to speak to, I bought her a phone. I thought, I was trying to be engaged. And this is after we broke up. Lucy's not mine biologically. I could have said, Rach, you want to break up? Well, Lucy, you don't have that anymore. See you later. But I wasn't like that. I was like, we've broken up, but I still want to be Lucy's dad. And I don't know if maybe she thought I would walk. I don't know whether she didn't like the fact that I still wanted to be engaged after we broke up. But I made Lucy a promise that I'd be her dad. And I didn't think that would end just because Rachel didn't want to be my wife anymore. So that's been really hard. And then obviously I took a year out, went through a lot of changes in my life. And I got therapy. And I don't think people realize, I don't think men realize that therapy is really good.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're capable of more, but something keeps on holding you back? That's where Phil comes in. Phil is a professional master coach and a master practitioner in NLP, timeline therapy and hypnotherapy with years of real-world experience building and growing businesses. His passion is simple, helping you reimagine your life or your business, break through limitations and build unstoppable momentum for good. Whether you want a powerful one-off session or ongoing support where Phil walks you through every step of the way, everything is tailored to you and your goals. If you're ready for real, lasting change, Phil might be exactly who you've been looking for. To find out more on what Phil does, just visit philhanlon.com for more information.
So therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy. Talking helps. Getting shit out on the table, getting shit out to you helps. And it helped you a lot to kind of re-piece things and
I'm still on a journey. I'm still on a journey. I thought this was me being a bloke. I thought my wife comes in and said, I've had a bad day at work. And I say, oh, what happened? She says, HR guy was, and I said, no, we wanted to send an email. She goes, no. I don't want to fix problems. I just want to talk. I'm like, well, why are you telling me then? I can help you. Let's email.
Yeah, let's fix
it. Right. And I'll do something like I'll say to my friend, so-and-so's happened. My boiler's broke and I can't afford to get it fixed. I'm standing them to say, hey, I just sold my house. Well, I could lend you, right? Because that's it. Like, and if I can't fix it and I got no one to tell to help me fix it, then there's no one to tell. There's nothing to fix. And I didn't think the way my life was, nobody could help me with my losing my family. Nobody could help me with my grief. Nobody could help me change the way I feel about myself. So I didn't think therapy was a thing. I didn't think it was a thing for me. But I did speak to the doctor. I was losing weight. I was losing weight dramatically. I'd stopped eating almost. And my family and the people who were closest to me would say stuff like, oh, you need to put a bit of meat on. Or they would say stuff like, oh, you're starting to look a bit sick. I was eating the same for months. I was making myself sick. I was starving myself. I was binging and then purging, and then I was overtraining. And I would buy food on the way to the gym and eat it on the exercise bike. That's how bad it was. Okay. And And I've been doing it all along, but when I was fat, nobody cared.
Mm.
And then when I actually got down to the weight that I felt in control, I felt my smallest, everyone was telling me I look sick and I need to put some meat on. And that hurt because I've been working for this for a year. I lost 80 pounds.
Yeah.
I was big.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I was big and now I'm small, but I didn't have control and I didn't know how to take my foot off the gas. I still wasn't sleeping great. So I went to the doctor and I self-referred to an eating disorder place, and they weren't great for me. Their website was very for children, very for girls. I just didn't feel like it was a place for me. And that's how I ended up finding out from Bloom Space, which is a mental health charity in South Wales. And they've got clinical therapists. And after I spoke to them, I spoke to somebody. They gave me a little questionnaire, asked me about myself, and they just got me in to see someone. I've been with them ever since, and it's changed my life.
Yeah.
It's really good. I'm still on a process of rebuilding my life and rebuilding my self-esteem and my confidence. But yeah, I never thought I would be such an advocate for therapy now. I think people should take couples therapy at the beginning of relationships. I think men that have been in bad relationships should, even if the bad relationship wasn't their fault, should go into therapy.
Yeah.
Learn about attachment styles.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's different now, and I've got some peace.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people, everyone.
Well, that's what they say, though, isn't it? You know, like it is. And again, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's rooted in truth.
True. Yeah.
But there's the old adage, you know, that everyone should have a therapist. You know, we had Hannah Phillips on.
Yeah.
And Hannah Phillips is the first person to tell anybody that she meets, if you haven't got a therapist, go and get one. Even if you think you're all right, because you're probably not all right.
Yeah.
But everyone should have a therapist. Everyone should have someone that they feel that they can talk to.
We've had a couple of therapists on, but then they're not actual therapists.
Yeah.
They do a PT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody would.
Nice.
I would say that is a type of therapist because
I'd argue we've had Ralph, right? Ralph Beecham, who owns Goon Barbers. These days, right, a barber's a therapist.
Yeah.
Because you're sat there, you can't go anywhere
No.
while they're doing your hair, right? And it ends up being therapy. Like I'll be honest, I've had candid conversations with my barber that I probably haven't had with other people.
Yeah.
Because it's a safe space, and you know. But I think that therapy looks different for different people, and whether you have a clinical therapist or you have someone, like you said, like a PT or whatever. I do think that there has to be that willingness that, you know, everyone should have someone that they can talk to.
Yeah. Who was confident enough to actually blurt out their deepest, darkest, not secrets, but...
You said about sports or whatever. I signed on to do a charity MMA fight last year. And they said it was going to be April next year. And I thought, that's ages away, I'll do that. I signed up for it, and I had a massive relapse. I had a binge eating relapse in January. That was it, January. And I put on like 30 pounds. But I signed up for this thing anyway. But in my head, my depression is all thinking about the past.
Yeah.
My anxiety is thinking about the future. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't want people to see my body. I was thinking, if I take my shirt off and wear a pair of shorts and get into a cage, and all these people are looking at me and I'm under the spotlight, and then somebody tries punching me in the face, I'm not going to care that I've got my shirt off. I'm not going to care that they're looking at me.
No.
I'm not going to care about my past. I'm not even going to care about the future or next week. So I just, in my head, I thought that MMA might be a really good way to actually get back into the present. And I haven't been in the present state for a long time. Because I do worry about the past and I do worry about the future. Well,
yeah, but it's like you said, Nick, when you're in that cage and when, you know, the spotlight's on you and you've got, you know, and you stood across a cage from someone,
then nothing matters.
You can't worry about what you're
No.
wearing. You can't worry about if there's someone in the front row that's shouting abuse,
Yeah.
because the main thing you got to worry about is
That.
someone going to hit me in the face.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's that thing about kind of being present. And I don't think there's enough of that. Like I said,
No.
I don't mean people hitting each other in the face. There's plenty of that going around. But yeah, I don't think there's enough of that kind of learning to be present. Because I think we anchor ourselves in the past, and you know, we can allow it to define us. Because at the end of the day, you
only exist in the present, right?
Yeah, like and you could have, if you had so chosen, you could have gone down the road of being totally defined.
Yeah.
And it comes kind of full circle almost to that Google search.
Yeah.
You could be John from 90 Day Fiance, and that is all you ever are, because that's how you're defined.
Yeah.
But that's not who you are now. It's part of a journey, but it doesn't mean that's who you are. And I think that kind of that willingness to be in the present and just kind of tackle things as they come to you is really admirable, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit as well. I want to talk about Bloom Space.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
Well,
no.
Great minds, as they say.
I know.
Is more than mine.
No.
Because of all the things I've lost, I think I miss my mind the most. But yeah, so we are really fortunate and privileged, really, that we are ambassadors for the charity.
Yeah.
We'll be straight up. Scheduling complex and bits and bobs, we haven't probably done half as much as we'd like to do. That is going to change, and that's a commitment that I've now made on a recorded line.
You heard it
and
first.
as someone that used to work in compliance, well, it's recorded now. So that's it. But kind of what makes Bloom Space special? Because if you look at there's different charities, different things. What makes Bloom Space
I went to
special?
my doctor and I couldn't get through on the app. I never used the app before, and I haven't been to the doctor apart from my COVID jabs or whatever in 2015. So I'm not well. I don't know about the NHS app. I didn't know. So I turned up there and they said, "Can I have an appointment?" I said, "No, can I get an appointment?" She said, "Fill this out," and it was a form for like an online form where I had to say what I want. So I wrote on there and I said, "Emergency, think I might kill myself, haven't slept for days." I gave it back to them. She said, "Oh, that's great." She said, "We'll call you up. The doctor will give you a call later." I was like, "What the fuck are we doing?"
Yeah.
Doctor gave me a call and they said, "You should self-refer yourself." I was like, "You're my doctor." And they asked me to self-refer myself to a charity down in wherever it was, or eating disorder place. And they were great. They said, our waiting time is 12 weeks. They said, we should get you back on for a course or whatever. I said, I'm not going to be here in 12 weeks. They said, okay, we'll try and sort something out. And they were good as gold. And about a month later, they booked me in for 6 sessions. And I guess somebody pays for it, the NHS or something. I don't know how it works. I don't know if they put a bill in. I don't know what they do. But my time had run out when I just about relapsed because there was a follow-up episode about me.
Yeah.
So when the follow-up episode came out about me, it was filmed last year at the same time as the rest of this smear campaign. But now it's on TV, which is different level to just the social media stuff.
Yeah.
So this came out. My fucking hair went curly. This is not perm. My hair went curly. I started binging again, and I was in a real bad place. And I saw myself spiraling massively out of control. And I spoke to the guys at Bloom Space. I had a lovely telephone appointment, interview. I don't know what you would call it. Consultation. With someone called Marnie. She was lovely. They got back to me later and they booked me in for weekly sessions with one of their clinical therapists. Now, I didn't know who was paying for it. I didn't know. I said, I don't know how this works. I don't know. I found it's a charity that they get a lot of their money from fundraising, and they sent me through some of the stuff. I saw the website, saw the other stuff they put online, and I was blown away that there are people raising money to help people pay for therapy. So I've been in since we're in April now. I've been with Bloom Space since January. Really happy. I hadn't left the house in a long time, and now look where I am. I'm out of the house.
You crossed the bridge.
I did cross the bridge. So I've been doing the MMA in Bristol. I've partnered up with some of the guys from Nails in Port Talbot. Bloom Space is obviously local to here, so I've been here. You guys are here as well, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a client, but Bloom Space, they helped me, and they are helping me, and that's why I'm all in with them, and that's why I'm raising money on this fight, because the charity fight that I was talking about, I signed up to before. You can choose which charity to choose. So I choose.
I was going to say, you haven't even had a knock to the head yet, have you?
Yeah, I've had a few. So yeah, I chose Bloom Space to raise money by being punched in the face.
Well, if you're going to raise money,
well, exactly. But no, we've had over the past few episodes, we've had sort of similar charities to Bloom Space, and for a community in South Wales to have one in Swansea area, Rhondda area, Torfaen area, and now Merthyr area, I think is absolutely incredible to anybody who's doing a charity in that sort of magnitude.
But they shouldn't have to.
No, I agree.
No,
if I can go to the doctor and get Viagra, and they can give me £100 worth of Viagra, then they can give me £100 worth of therapy. They can just give me a ticket, and I take it to any therapist, and then I hand it over, and I get my £100 worth of therapy.
It's funny you should say about Viagra, because after this, I can take you to the factory that they made it. Because it was in Merthyr.
Oh, wonderful!
So if you want to see,
that, like if anything, I'm entitled to. If any medication I'm entitled to, I can get a prescription, and I can go to Boots Pharmacy. I can go to Tesco's Pharmacy.
Yeah,
I can get my. Yeah. If I say I am going to kill myself and I'm not going to be here, they go, okay. Well, why don't you self-refer and we'll see you in a month?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Unless you're stood on a bridge.
Yeah.
Unless you're stood on a bridge. They're like, well, what can we do? You're sad, like. Yeah,
it's crazy that it takes
charities. It shouldn't
the extreme.
Yeah,
for the acting of certain branches of the health service, and yes, we get that under pressure, the services are this, the resources this, the money, but then you think, but
they save money.
But the problem is. And I've said this before, and I've said it to lots of people on record and off record. The system is fundamentally broken, and just by throwing money at a health service, at an NHS, the system is broken. Yeah. You can throw as much money at it as you want now; it's not going to change because the attitudes are wrong, the mindset is wrong. It shouldn't get to you having to escalate from I'm really not doing so good. I'm not eating. I'm not. It should never get from that to I'm going to do something to myself if you don't do something. That passage of that shouldn't happen. That escalation. It should just because you see it all the time. Mental health is it's posted about and it's shared and it's on people's agenda. But you think, but at what point does it stop being on the agenda and start turning into action? Because, considering that people, are very quick to say, it's not about stats, they're people, they're not stats. But if you don't act soon, then them stats are going to go up. And then all of a sudden, you will lose that identity. Yeah, and it as you can tell, it really frustrates me beyond, because I've spoken about it here. I've spoken about it from different things I've done previously. I had a really negative experience when I first ever was diagnosed with a mental health condition of severe depression and anxiety back in 2014. I was given a last minute appointment in a GP's. As I went in, the doctor that saw me had her coat on. She had her coat on.
Yes.
She was, her bag was on the table. She was, it's already you go in. I was 23, 24 years of age. Already then you're thinking to yourself, I'm an inconvenience.
Yeah. I
I shouldn't be here. And then she didn't pick her head up.
Yeah.
She was writing bits out, and I sat there, and she said, "So what? What's wrong?" And I said, "I always remember saying I don't feel right." And she finished what she was writing first,
Yeah.
and I went, "What do you mean? When you look all right?"
Hmm.
And that was,
You
that
look
was
right
the
back.
person then that you're trusting to help you not feel as shit as you were when you walked through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is difficult. So the fact that there are charities and fantastic and committed individuals out there who do genuinely care, it is amazing. But then I also, I get the other side, what you're saying, and I mean this with the most profound respect that I can muster, and I would hope that the individuals understand this, because the individuals are actually sat in the same room as us. But what I'd say is, I'd love it if I knew Marnie and I knew Donna, but I didn't have to know them.
Yeah.
Because
that
of
would be nice.
mental health. I'd love just to know them, because as you said, there should be a world
Shouldn't
where
be.
it's just there does need to be that.
If I opened up a dentist, if I became a dentist and I opened my own practice, I could put a sign on the window that says NHS patients welcome, and every single person who needed a tooth, I could bill the NHS.
Yeah.
Why can't
Yeah.
legal and I don't want to drop standards. I don't think everyone should open their own mental health clinic.
No.
But places that are qualified, they should be able to get people in. Anyone, knock, knock, knock. Hello, yeah. So what's your name? That's your insurance number. That's fine.
Yeah.
And every time somebody gets some therapy, they should get billed, and they should get paid for the work they should do.
Yeah.
Because, like you said earlier, if people don't have access to help, and I don't just mean giving people antidepressants, if people don't have access to help, their family life breaks down, their work life breaks down, then they stop looking after themselves. They get bad teeth. They end up spending loads more money on stuff. Then they get obesity. Then they can't work.
It goes to show as well, is this like not getting to the point of you are going to look for a mental health charity or being diagnosed. It should happen in certain circumstances then. It should be, right, that's happened. We've noted that's happened. That's going to fuck you up in the future. Let's take out the middleman of you being fucked up in the future and go, right, starting now. So like, I don't know, my personal experience with my wife, for instance, from being fit and healthy to doing CPR for 20 minutes on the floor, on the bedroom floor, for then her to be rushed into hospital. That was an ordeal in itself.
I bet it was.
Leaving that hospital, one of the people there, nurse or whatever, I couldn't remember, she said, we'll be in touch to see how she is. And she spoke to me and, how are you feeling? Shit. Oh, we'll try and get you some therapy sorted for you.
Yeah.
Right, fab. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was feeling. I didn't know how to feel. Was I feeling okay? Was I feeling shit? I don't know. I still don't know till this day how I should have reacted, and I still don't know how to react from this day. And that's it's not. But then, if that initial part was like, right, we'll get you some therapy. Next day, you got somebody on the phone. Happy days. But
do you think though? Because I think and this may tie in slightly to perception. how big a thing do you think it is that people are afraid of getting it wrong? So they back off. They think, do you know what? I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing because we live in such a politically correct and politically charged environment. I'd like to help you, but what if I say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't become, sadly, it doesn't become about you. It becomes about them. Because if I say the wrong thing to you and then you go off and you go and do something, oh my God, well, I said that.
Yeah.
What, you know, how much do you think that maybe plays a part? That people are afraid of engaging because they're afraid to get it wrong?
Well, I've never dealt with mental health. I've never dealt with it in the NHS. I've never dealt with it in charities. I've never done nothing with mental health. I've seen adverts for mental health, but I think, okay, well, that's for people with problems. Like, now I've been there and I've realized that I went from being outgoing to being an introvert, isolated, thinking about saying goodbye to everything. Now I know that can happen to me, so I know it can happen to other people, and I know how much the MMA's helped me. In my head, all I want to do now is I'm like, maybe we could do like a charity MMA thing where people can come and it can be free, and then they can come, and even if, you know, they don't have to compete, but the fact they're going to be meeting with other guys. I went from having anxiety and not wanting to register, doing a little warm up. 10 minutes later, they're like, oh, get in guard. I'm like, what? And you just lie on the floor, put your legs up there. Somebody lays on top of you, and then they're sweating on you. And I went from having anxiety, not wanting to go, to having a stranger lying on top of me, right? I hadn't been touched or hugged for 2 years. And then I got a stranger sweating on me. And I think because that's how it's helping me, that's how I want to help people, right? And I don't really think anyone that's been through a journey or process of healing doesn't want to help other, doesn't see it.
100%.
So as far as like people being too scared, I think doctors, you said about your thing right in the notes. I went to my doctor and I told them, do you know what they put on my NHS report? Jonathan's told me a wonderful story about how he's on TV. And I was like, you do not sound like you believe me. And then it just went on, like nice and vague. And I thought he doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm
mental.
He thinks he thinks it's mental illness rather than mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't help me at all.
No.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing. Like
it's
literally.
Crazy. I you know, because that same checklist.
Yeah.
You said, I remember her finishing it.
Yeah.
And she went through it.
Well, you look fine.
And she literally, and I can hear her. It's been however many years, 12 years, and I can hear her saying, well, the good thing is, I know worried about you killing yourself because one of your triggers is letting people down, and that would really let people down, wouldn't it, if you killed yourself? So I don't think that's anything we need to worry about, is it? And then, obviously I didn't. But there's a scenario where I left that GP's and I did go and do something.
But there's a scenario where you think that nobody cares, so you're not letting anyone down.
Exactly.
Right? If nobody cares about you, then you're not letting anyone down. No one will miss you anyway.
No. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
But I felt that way. My doctor wrote. John told me a wonderful story. It's not a story, is it?
Exactly.
No. Yeah.
No, I think he said fantastic. He said John told me a fantastic story about how he was on TV. Okay.
But even then, right? Not to get too much into English language or whatever, you're right. But even like the etymology of the word fantastic, fantastical, to be based out of fantasy, to be based out of not being real. It's it can't be real. Yeah. What a fantastic story you've told me. There's no way you were on TV.
I said I've relapsed. My wife's made a TV show about me. She's talking about I've done this and the other. I woke up to loads of messages, like I'm spiraling. And he went, wonderful story.
That's what I mean. And it comes across and you walk out to the room.
Fantastic story.
He goes in to get his cuppa, his 10 for the day, whatever it is. And then he turns and says, you want to see the bloke I just had his wife's doing a TV program, but like, next.
Yeah. That's how it felt.
That's the problem. Is next.
Absolutely.
Next.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm glad I found Boom Space.
Yeah, they're great. They are great.
They are.
And I hate the fact you know them as well.
What, just in general?
Yeah. No, I hate the fact that you need to know them through that.
But yeah, then, I think the fact, and I get what you're saying as well about finding something that's worked for you, and wanting to kind of you should give
Share
this a
it.
go. And you know, I haven't had other people laying on top of me and sweating, etc.
No, you should.
Or punch it. Well, you know, there's the night's young, but it is warm in here. That's a tour. That's
the other part.
That's for the Patreons. Pay extra for that. That's, but I get it because like I discovered contrast therapy and cold water dipping.
Okay.
When was it? 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
I will drag anybody to a cold water tub because I had, you know, I'd been okay. You know, I'd had my ups and my downs, my dips and my challenges, and I had coping mechanisms and different things that I'd kind of gone back to over the years. And then a mate of mine said, "Do you want to come down this place in Skewen?" And I was just like, "What the is in Skewen? Why the hell do I want to go to, you know?" And he said, "Well, I'm going in the cold water tubs." And I said, "What the fuck do you want to do that for?" And he said, "Honest, but I went last week." And I said, I don't know. And he cork's been corked. I tell anyone, that first night, I felt like I could run through a brick wall. I have never felt so alive. But so out of my comfort zone, but getting so much out of it. I slept better, and then the next thing, I'm going once a week. I'm going twice a week. Yeah. I'm going to different ones. I tell anybody it's one of the best things I ever did for my mental health, for my well-being, but I get it in terms of promoting what works for you.
Yeah, because you're like this. You're like. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm that person in work or even in like social situations where if I even hear, like I can be on one side of the office and I'll hear someone say, I thought we're going cold dipping. See, I'll be over there. And I'll be like, I tell you what, you should really go. And I'll get really invested because
bringing them out the pamphlets. And
it is, you know. Because in my mind, I'm there thinking, if it works half as well for you as it does for me, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But yeah.
But I think that's it, I think.
I think that is it. Do you need to do that?
No. We need to plug the Patreon a bit. Hey guys, remember.
Imagine
but
we could do a money, Jord.
We could do it.
OnlyFans. These boys are going to be on OnlyFans.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
How much would you charge?
Two guys, one jar. Two guys, one cup.
I know a boy. I know a boy from
one man, one jar. He's from Merthyr.
No, but I
bucket more like.
I actually knew a boy he was on OnlyFans during COVID. But I kind of felt sorry for him because when you did the conversion from dollars to pounds, I was like, mate, you don't think much of yourself. Do you charging people £2.80?
Oh, is it £2.80?
£2.80 is not worth it, man.
But I had a friend who charged £30 a month. She had 1,000 subscriptions.
That's what I mean.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
That's what I mean.
They bought a restaurant.
Instead of buying us a coffee, just buy a video of us laying on top of each other, sweating.
Yeah, sweating. And then for just £6 a month.
Anyway.
Me tell you, if I want to work up a sweat, I'll get up out of the chair too quick.
Yes,
that'll do it for me.
We've made it. I think we've. Yeah,
this has been some places.
Yes, it has.
It started with that fucking dishwasher.
That was funny. That was
funny. Now somehow we've agreed. Have we agreed to do one? I don't
I don't think so.
I think they just agreed.
I think we have.
Moving swiftly on.
Two boys, one mattress.
I just love the combination. 2 boys, one mattress.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, just one man. That's what I meant.
Oh dear.
Which one we roll the dice?
Just one mattress.
You said you wanted to branch out.
I did want to branch out. Christ, imagine that. How would I go into work? But like, Mark, we've seen your newer stuff. Well, then, I have to pay for it though.
Oh, really?
Anyway,
it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Well, thanks for having me.
No, thank you as well for kind of entrusting us to be able to help you tell what you've been through. And I think even though it's you get the feeling, it's You know, it's kind of very iceberg-like. You know, we're just seeing what's above the surface.
Yeah.
Probably a hell of a lot more underneath. But I think, you know, the fact that if you saying how you've been made to feel, or how other people may you know, because even if you're not a celeb, even if you haven't been on the telly, the amount of hate on social media that can go to regular people by regular people. Yeah. And it is concerning. I think if it helps anyone, then I think that's a job well done.
Yes. And that's been episode 34. 5?
Sure?
Nope.
He's not sure.
No. Let's say that again, but do a couple just...
Yeah, 35, 36, 37.
Yeah. John, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Obviously, we hope that the MMA fight goes well.
Yeah. Are you guys going to come?
Hopefully.
Hopefully we are, yeah.
I think so. We are. Fingers crossed. And a big thanks to Bloomspace for introducing you to us, really. And
pleasure's mine, really.
Isn't he nice?
He is nice.
Come back again.
Well, maybe.
Episode 2.
Part 2. We've got a lot of part 2s to record.
We've got a lot of part 2s.
Our usual spiel.
Click the link below.
Click the link, follow, subscribe, like, comment, buy us a coffee if you really want to. Thank you again for watching and listening and subscribing and liking. It means a lot. So yeah. Happy days. Thank you very much. And
we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
I think we're in Newport next time.
Are we?
Yeah. Well, not Newport.
Oh, again.
We'll see you.
Okay.
We'll be wherever we'll be.
We will. Bye-bye.